Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to I Know History or Do I, the channel where we dig into the stories your textbooks might gloss over, challenge what you think you know, and uncover the raw truths of the past. I'm Rebecca, and today we're tackling a heavy but important topic: peaceful protests that went horribly wrong. And history is full of moments where people gathered nonviolently to demand change, better rights, fair treatment, democracy, only for things to spiral into violence, often because of brutal responses from those in power. So these events are just tragedies. They're turning points that shaped revolutions, laws, societies, and we're going to cover 8 major examples from across centuries and continents, showing patterns that sadly repeat even today. So if you're ready for some eye-opening history, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and let's dive in. This one is about 30 minutes, maybe 20, I don't know. So grab a drink and settle in, okay? And I'll be right back. Okay, everybody. So thank you for tuning in. I know this is coming on my Weird True Crime YouTube channel, but I do have a I Know History or Do I channel, but I'm gonna be moving that over there. But today I'm just trying to get more information out there because some of these actually come across in a crime aspect. And tackling this topic simply because of what's going on in Minneapolis and what has happened over the last few days. So we're gonna talk about that, and here we go. So we're going to start in colonial America and work our way forward chronologically. So first up is the Boston Massacre. Now this happened on March 5th, 1770, and tensions were boiling in Boston over British taxes and occupation. A crowd of colonists gathered to harass a British sentry. They were tired. They weren't allowed to have weapons. They had to pay taxes. They had to allow soldiers to stay in their homes whenever the soldiers wanted to. The tea tax was going up. If you remember the Boston Tea Party, where they were throwing tea into the bay. So, people got fed up. So they were throwing snowballs, insults, rocks, and it started off as a rowdy protest, but not an armed rebellion. So keep in mind, the colonials were not allowed to have guns. There was a law, British law, not allowing them to have guns. But reinforcements arrived, and in the chaos, soldiers fired into the crowd. Now, they killed 5, wounded 6, and the first to die was Crispus Attucks, a man of African and Native American descent. Now, Paul Revere's famous engraving turned into a propaganda gold for revolutionaries, portraying it as cold blooded murder. It fueled anti British sentiment and helped spark the American Revolution. Lesson here: even snowball throwing protests can escalate fatally when met with armed force. So now we're going to fast forward to the Britain itself, the Peterloo Massacre, August 16th, 1819. Now there are 60,000 working class people, men, women, children, gathered peacefully in Manchester's St. Peter's Field for the parliamentary reform and voting rights. No weapons, just banners and speeches. Local magistrates panicked and sent in the cavalry. Now soldiers charged with sabers, killing 18 and injuring hundreds. It was dubbed Peterloo, an ironic mockery of Waterloo. Now, this shocked Britain, radicalized the working class, and pushed forward the fight for democracy, eventually leading to the Reform Act of 1832. But it showed how elites feared mass gatherings. Jump to Russia, 1905, Bloody Sunday, January 22nd. Workers in St. Petersburg, led by priest Father Gapin, marched peacefully to the Winter Palace with a petition for better conditions and rights. They carried icons and sang hymns. Super non-threatening, but Tsar Nicholas II wasn't even there. But troops opened fire anyway. Over 100 killed, hundreds wounded. This ignited the 1905 revolution. Strikes, mutinies, the birth of Soviets, it shattered the myth of the Tsar as a little father and set up the stage for 1917. When peaceful pleas were met with bullets, revolution often follows. And in that revolution, that's when the royal family of Russia, the Romanovs, were killed. They were captured and killed and buried in a mass grave. Not long after that, we have 1919, India under British rule, the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre, April 13th. Thousands gathered in Amritsar's enclosed garden for a festival and to protest repressive laws. No violence banned. No violence planned. Brigadier General Dyer blocked the exits and ordered troops to fire without warning. 1,650 rounds in 10 minutes. Official death toll, 379. But because the winners always get to write history how they see it, it's probably likely over 1,000 people died. Dyer later said he wanted to punish Indians. This atrocity galvanized the independence movement, turning Gandhi toward full non-cooperation. It exposed the brutality of colonialism. Now, we all know that, Gandhi went on hunger strikes and everything else, and his perseverance allowed India to become a free country from at least out from underneath British rule. Now we're going to get to labor rights. A Haymarket Affair, Chicago, May 4th, 1886. A rally for 8-hour workdays was winding down peacefully when police moved in to disperse it. Someone threw a bomb, killing officers. Then police fired into the crowd. 7 police and at least 4 workers died. 8 anarchists were convicted. In a sham trial, 4 hanged. It became a symbol for workers' rights worldwide. That's why May Day is International Workers' Day, but it set back the U.S. labor movement with anti-radical hysteria. (1960) South Africa, Sharperville Massacre, March 21st. Thousands protested apartheid passed laws peacefully outside of a police station. Police opened fire, 69 killed, many shot in the back, over 180 wounded, including kids. This horrified the world, led to bans on anti-apartheid groups, turned into armed struggle, and intensified global pressure that eventually ended apartheid. Then we have, let's see. Then we have U.S. Civil Rights Bloody Sunday, Selma, March 7th, 1965. 600 marchers for voting rights crossed Edmund Pettus Bridge, met by state troopers with tear gas, clubs, whips, over 50 hospitalized, including John Lewis. TV footage shocked America, leading directly to the Voting Rights Act. Nonviolence exposed brutality and won hearts. Now, this is one this happened before I was born, but this one I do remember hearing about at home. 1970, Vietnam War protests, the Kent State shootings, May 4th. Students protested the Cambodian invasion, some rock throwing, but National Guard fired 67 rounds into a crowd, 4 dead, 9 wounded. Now, I will say this, it may have started off peaceful, but when you start throwing things at people with guns, it becomes non-peaceful at that point. It sparked nationwide strikes, deepened anti-war divide. Ohio, by Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, captured the outrage. But, that there's a beginning of school protests. Now, this one I do remember. 1989 China, Tiananmen Square crackdown, June 4th. Students occupied the square for weeks, peacefully demanding democracy. Troops and tanks cleared it. Hundreds, maybe thousands killed. Tank Man became an icon of defiance. It ended the movement, but drew global condemnation. And then finally, recent history. The 2020 George Floyd protests. While the vast majority, over 93% per studies, were peaceful, some escalated into violence amid clashes, looting, counter-protesters. Police responses like tear gas often fueled it. Over 25 deaths linked, billions in damage, but it sparked a worldwide reckoning on racism and police reform. And then let's get to why we're here today. One, Renee Nicole Good, 37-year-old mother who was shot during a protest of ICE ICE investigations in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This happened 2 days ago. There's a lot of question about, was she going for the police in her car? Were they being overzealous and shooting? I don't know. There's so many different angles, and each one is open to interpretation. Some looks like she was just trying to leave. Some look like she was trying to hit one of the ICE agents. I don't know. You've got the Department of Homeland Security saying that the agent was acting in self-defense. You've got the protesters, that she was part of a group of saying, no, no, she was just trying to get out of the way. I don't know. But this is the aftermath right there. So, what ties these together? Peaceful intent doesn't guarantee peaceful outcomes, especially when power fears change. Overreactions, fear, or deliberate suppression, termed gatherings tragic, often backfiring and accelerating the causes. History asks, do we learn? Protests continue because injustices do. What do you think? Is nonviolence still the best path, or do these tragedies show its limits? So drop your thoughts below and share if this hits home. And subscribe for more history that challenges what you know. Next time we'll explore, I'm not sure what we'll explore, but I'll see what sparks some type of inspiration. But stay curious, stay safe, and peace out. And again, don't ever stop standing for what you believe in, but understand doing that, sacrifices sometimes have to be made for the greater good. This is Rebecca with I Know History, or Do I? Have a great evening, great day, and please be safe.